Danny Warshay. I'm the Executive Director of the Nelson Center for Entrepreneurship. I see lots of familiar faces, and those of you who have been to our events know that I always start these events with a special Warshay welcome, and that is raise your hand if this is the first time you've been at a Nelson Center event. I love seeing that. We keep seeing new faces, and that's good. We keep seeing older faces, which is also good, because it means that we have some repeat customers. Welcome, especially to those of you for whom this is your first event. We would love to have you back. If you're not already on our email update list, you can get on that list by going to our website, which is entrepreneurship.brown.edu. On the homepage, just sign up, and roughly on a weekly basis, we promise not to bombard you, but we'll educate you about what is available in our center. I'll highlight one thing that some of you know, which is that we're building a new physical center on Thayer Street, right across from the Brown bookstore. And so these types of events, in just a few months, will be located in our own home right across from the bookstore. So welcome, thank you for being here. Thank you to Yelitsa for being back. We got to know each other originally in your role as a social innovation fellow, and I did a little bit of mentoring and teaching in that context. Always very happy to have people who have benefited from Brown and RISD's partnership and from the increasing number of entrepreneurial resources come back and share what you've done. So thank you for coming. And then I want to pay a special thank you to Scott and Kevin from RISD for the partnership that this illustrates, and that is that we're doing an increasing number of things together with RISD, which of course makes only perfect sense. And we've known each other for years, and it's great now professionally in this context to have an increasing presence together. So thanks for doing this, and I'll ask you, if you would, to introduce our guests.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Hello, everyone. So my name again is Kevin Jankowski. I'm the director of the Career Center at RISD. And for those of you in the room who know Yelitsa, what I'm about to say will be quite apparent. For those that don't know, you're going to see in just a few minutes, Yelitsa's energy, her vibrancy, her charisma is just infectious. And this is an element that I think if you are a company or a venture or someone starting out, to have the kind of personality that Yelitsa has really, you want to come on board. You want to hear what she has to say. You want to hear about the thing that she's passionate about. And so what I saw very early on is this excitement and passion she had for healthy roots. And then what happens when you have that is, what do you do with it? How do you start this venture? How do you start this company? And one of the things that's been critical for RISD and working with Brown is you need an ecosystem. Sometimes it's not just one thing, it's not one fellowship, it's not one workshop, it's not one class. It's really an ecosystem and a combination of experiences, because this is not easy. And the energy and the passion you have is going to have bumps in the road, and it's going to have dips. And one thing that I've seen through the RISD ventures that have come out of our institution is how you deal with that, and how you are flexible, how you adapt to change, and how you stay impassioned, and then also how you persevere. And I think that perseverance is the thing that gets you through those bumps. And Yelitsa is really a testament to that, because she believed in this so much. And I have to say, there's always the origin component when you have a venture. And to know something when you start at the very early stages, to see the first sketches and iterations of the doll, the packaging, what you felt about it. And then most importantly, this passion she has for this venture and this product is so much about empowering young girls and how they feel about themselves, and how they feel about their culture, their community, their race, and their hair, all through the hair. And you look at Yelitsa and this amazing hair, it's just a testament to what she created with Healthy Roots. I cannot, to Danny's point, thank enough the collaboration, the relationship, and the partnership that we've had with Danny and Jason through the Breakthrough Lab, through the Nelson Center, through the Swear Center. Over these past years, it's been fantastic. We've had lots of wonderful RISD interactions with ventures, and I just want to thank you both again, because it's just been fantastic, and we look forward to future collaborations. So with that all said, the wonderful, the inspiring Yelitsa Jean-Charles.
I don't really feel like there's anything left for me to talk about now. Thank you to everyone for bringing me back here. It's been about a year since I was last in Providence, and I was here for a VFA reunion. If you guys don't know what VFA, it's Venture for America. It's the program that I went into directly after graduating. But I'm not going to talk too much about that. Like many of you, I was a student once. You guys are students right now, and I'm young enough to be, I guess, semi-inspiring, but old enough to have learned things and also be a little bit jaded by my entrepreneur experience, but working things out. So I got started as a RISD alumni. I'm a RISD alumni right now, and is this working? It's not. Yeah.
I'll try to work on this while you do that.
Perfect. Hello, welcome. Hi, how are you? All right. You're just on time because I'm literally just starting. So I have no idea how I got here. Actually, I know exactly how I got here. So I went to the Rhode Island School of Design where I studied illustration with a concentration in gender, race, and sexuality. And I learned a lot along the way. Since then, I have been a Brown University Social Innovation Fellow, a Mass Challenge Accelerator finalist, a VFA participant. I've had a successful Kickstarter campaign. I've been on Essence's 50 Founders to Watch list. I won the New Voices Fund pitch competition in July, and I won the Startup Stampede demo day in April or May. There's been a lot of things. And I say all those things because they accumulate to the total impact that my community has had in helping me build my company to begin with. So next slide. I told myself I wasn't going to do that really corny thing where you put definitions on a slide, so I made it prettier and included a picture. So I started as a student activist on my campus. It was around 2013, and there had been the recent shooting of Michael Brown in Ferguson, and I wanted to know how I could have an impact and make connections for people so that they could further understand this, because it was literally just the year after Trayvon Martin, and RISD, and like so much of my understanding of why I came to RISD was based on the fact that I know that visual artists have potential to have impact in the work that we're creating and communicating with our audience. And so being here and being in these classes and not seeing a lot of my peers take that opportunity to educate and make a difference with their work was really frustrating. So I connected with the Black Artists and Designers group here. I brought Artists Against Police Violence here, and with the RISD administration, we were able to organize a lot of events. And RISD was one of the first places where I was able to better understand my identity. Because when I was growing up, as a first-generation Haitian American, it was a bit of a struggle because I wasn't Black enough for the African American kids, but I also wasn't American enough. And so I'm going home to this one culture, and then I'm going to school and experiencing a different culture, and I'm like straddling both sides and like trying to be a part of one. And it ultimately ended up with me being heavily influenced and experiencing colorism and participating in internalized racism. And I didn't understand that until I got to RISD and started to deconstruct my identities and my experience. So I was having conversations with other African Americans where we were talking about like what we had experienced growing up and the racism. And I finally had the words to put behind my experience and define it for other people. And it was that foundation, that community that helped propel a lot of my work forward. Okay. Sorry, I have a whole structure to this. So I found a community of like-minded students and allies that engaged with my work and helped me build my company. So the one thing that I often talk about is the fact that when I built Healthy Roots, I built it out of seeing a demonstrated need and a demand, not just, I think this is a really great idea and I'm just gonna do it, which leads me to this slide, which is, we need innovation, not repetition, and most importantly, we need social impact. Because one thing that I constantly see is we're gonna be the next Facebook. Like, we do not need more Facebooks. Please stop. And so I'll talk to other people and peers, and they're telling me about their idea, and I'm like, did you create this because you wanna be a founder, because you wanna create a company, because you wanna have this idea of like what it is to be successful? Or did you create it because you have a community, you've been a part of that community, you've seen a demonstrated need, and that you know that demonstrated need needs to be activated, and a solution can be created from it? So my beginnings, it literally all started in a class at RISD. And this was after I'd been involved in my space and like learning about colorism, internalized racism, about the specific pain points of African Americans, being one with that space and actually asking the questions and engaging those people. And I went to a Facebook post after my class in 3D illustration where I used my work and I was addressing issues of race, and I created this little character because we were asked to redesign a fairy tale character. I turned Rapunzel into a little brown girl with kinky curly hair because I wanted to show little brown girls we can be princesses, we are beautiful too. And then all my friends in this class are like, it looks like a doll. Have you thought about making a doll? I'm like, okay. I did not think about that. And it was also in that class that one of my peers had said, it is not our responsibility as students to be socially aware. And then I was like, that's specifically your responsibility as a student. So also, I do change my hair. I have not been wearing the same hairstyle for the past 4 years. So I took this idea and I went to Facebook and I just started a conversation. And 100 comments later from my peers, I realized there was something here because Melanie, I think you participated in that conversation. You were like, yeah, I never had a doll like me growing up. And it's the same comment thread about how we were impacted by the visuals that we saw when we were younger and how we can't find products now and why there aren't products like that. And so from there, I got an email from RISD about the Brown Social Innovation Fellowship. And this is when I talk about not saying no before you can say yes. And I say this a lot because one thing that a lot of us do is like, oh, I'll never get that. Like, let me not even. But I took the steps to validate it. I had a conversation with the director at the time, Lizzie, and I talked to someone who was in the program because I wanted to make sure that like, okay, am I a fit? Can I actually take this forward and complete this application and get in? And like, is it an idea worth pursuing? So after I did a research paper, I wrote this 5-page research paper, literally submitted it the night before, but I did all this research where I was learning more about the foundation that I was building for my company, which was about colorism, about internalized racism. I learned about the paper bag test. Does anyone know what that is? For those of you who don't know, it's a process of elimination for people who are considered socially acceptable based on the color of their skin. So if you're lighter than a paper bag, you're considered better, and if you're darker than a paper bag, you're not. And I learned about the Mamie Clark doll test, which is literally a test that was used in the Brown versus Board of Education to show racial bias in children. And what they would do is they would place a white baby doll and a brown baby doll in front of children, both black and white, and ask them which one is the good doll, which one is the bad doll. And overwhelmingly, a lot of the children, including the black children, said, you know, the black doll is bad, is ugly, it's not good, and that the white doll was pretty and smart and great. And I use this to further learn about the impact that toys have on children, which is the fact that they influence how we think, act, and see ourselves. And so ultimately led me to doing more research about the fact that those same toys, when they represent kids, can have a positive impact. And then even going further into the beauty space, which is the fact that like so many African American women are using chemicals and dangerous products to alter their appearance, like bleaching their skin, because they have been told by the society that they have to look a certain way, and finding the common thread in there and then coming to a solution for me, which was getting to the root of the problem during the earliest stages of identity development and creating a representative product for them. And that's what I presented to the Social Innovation Fund, Social Innovation Fellowship. And I got in, which is really great because only 2 RISD kids get in a year. And it started my journey in entrepreneurship. I literally went to RISD to be a fine artist, and now I'm like working on a business, which is crazy. So I get into that program, and that's where I meet a lot of the people that have helped me to get to where I'm today. Deb Mills Schofield is one of my mentors. She does office hours all the time. If you haven't had a chance to connect with her, please do. And that program helped me build my business model and further my idea, which was going beyond just creating a brown doll, because there already are brown dolls. What else am I doing? What experience am I creating for kids? So I ultimately created a product that isn't just a doll, because you have to do more than paint a doll brown to connect with children. We created an experience around hair, so educating them, giving them the tools to actually learn how to do their hair. And I figured out how to create that product because I actually conducted interviews with my target demographic and learned 3 key things. Why they don't do their hair naturally is because they don't have time, they don't know what they're doing, or they do whatever their mom was doing. And that's another thing that I don't feel like a lot of companies do when they're first starting, is they get this idea and they just run with it, but they never go back and try to validate and figure out, do people actually want this? Let me have conversations, let me test it first. And so I was deciding, how can I test this? So I got into Mass Challenge, which is an accelerator program in Boston. They accept about 128 applicants per year, and it was intense. So I went from junior year Brown Social Innovation Fellowship, and then I did B Lab right before Mass Challenge to help me get ready. And then I was, literally that summer was the craziest summer of my life. I was a research assistant, I was a pre-college security guard, so I was staying up from 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. on certain days, going home, sleeping for 2 hours, getting on the train to go to Boston at 7 a.m., going to Mass Challenge all day, and then coming back at night and doing research assistant work. Don't do that. It's exhausting. So when I got to Mass Challenge, I had even more access to the entrepreneurship world there, learning about managing your finances. And this was over a 9-month period, which is when I was building up my Kickstarter campaign. That's the other thing that a lot of people ask me about is the Kickstarter. I'll get emails where it's like, hey, I'm launching a Kickstarter next week. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're not going to do that because you haven't done enough of the work. So I knew from when I got into Social Innovation Fellowship, I say fun because money is on my mind all the time. Social Innovation Fellowship, that I was going to do a Kickstarter to further validate my product because I wanted to provide proof of concept. So I was networking, I was going to events and being more immersed in that community and doing research to figure out where I can find more people to support this and help me validate it. And then the summer that I was in Mass Challenge, I launched my campaign on August 25th, and we were fully funded by September 25th, and we exceeded our initial goal of $35,000 and reached $50,000. So I would say that we definitely proved our concept. And it was really exciting because I presented an idea. I didn't necessarily have a physical prototype, but I presented the idea of the product. And 674 people said, I will go on this journey with you to bring this product to market. And this was the biggest problem that I found. I had a problem driving my initiative, driving my idea. The fact that only 4 out of 10 girls love their curls. And I defined my opportunity. This is one thing that I've had to learn how to do for when I'm talking to investors, is showing them the landscape that I'm entering, my market. The fact that 50% of children in the US and they don't have products that represent them. The fact that doll sales have topped 2.91 billion in 2016 and are doing incredibly well for products that are innovating in this space. And the fact that 77% of African American products are looking for products like this. So this is our doll. I realized I haven't shown any pictures of her this entire presentation. Her name is Zoe. She teaches natural hair care to young girls of color. You can style her hair just like yours and learn all about your hair. And as you can see, kids really like her, not just because we paid them to take these photos. We've gotten a lot of great customer testimonials from the Kickstarter backers we've sent our dolls to. And so this is us validating our idea and getting proof of concept back from customers. And just the rundown, we had 674 backers, and this was actually with no marketing cost. This was just all organic, like people sharing it, us doing signal boosts, getting press, organic press. It was a bit of a whirlwind. It was exhausting. If you have any questions about it, I'm sure some of you are coming to the one-on-ones, and I'll talk to you about that. And then again, the community that helped me do this. So there's a lot of threads. I didn't just come up with this idea and throw it on the internet. It took all of these organizations and all of the support and funding and opportunity I got from these people to help me do that. And I wouldn't have had the same amount of traction if I hadn't hit all these touch points along the way. And so as of today, we've ultimately raised $130,000 from Kickstarter, from our first investor, Backstage Capital, from the grant that Brown University gave us to help us get started, from the CVC Award from Venture for America, and the pitch competition that we won in July, and some angel investors. And this is the power of community and demand. The fact that we saw a necessary need in a community, and then there were people willing to support that idea because of the work that we've been doing to address it. So people like Arlen Hamilton. Who has heard of Arlen Hamilton? Y'all are terrible. You need to Google her right now, follow her on everything.
She just had a Fast Company op-ed.
Yeah, I bought the magazine at the airport on my way here because I couldn't find it anywhere else. Arlen Hamilton is a venture capitalist who is disrupting the VC space by investing in underrepresented and underestimated founders. She started in 2015 around the same time as me. And she started with a Medium post that went viral where she was talking about how white VCs are missing opportunities because they're overlooking these founders. And it went viral, and she started Backstage Capital, which is her investment fund. I cold connected with her, but I didn't ask her for money. I just emailed her, and I was like, I read your piece. I was just coming out of Mass Challenge. I was like, I read your piece. You were 100% right. This really resonates with me, especially as I'm entering this space looking for funding, da 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 da. And I just kept in touch with her. That's it. Just kept sending her emails, followed her on Twitter. And then last October, I saw that she put out a call on Twitter that said, hey, I'm looking to do some fireside chats around the country. Hit me up if your city is interested. And I was like, come to Cincinnati. And she was like, tell Candace. And I was like, I know Candace. I used to work with Candace. And Candace brought Arlen to Cincinnati through Hillman Accelerator. And while she was there, I had a meeting with her, and she decided to invest. So it was really exciting. And other things that have been happening with Backstage Capital is they're responding to the demand created by underrepresented founders, which is the Backstage Accelerator program, because a lot of founders are struggling to get capital because what a lot of VCs do is they pattern match, and they invest in the founder, but they typically pattern match for people that they see themselves in. And so if you're a woman of color, if you're not from the same industry as them, if you're not from the same school, the space, all these variable factors, it's not to say that they're intentionally overlooking you, but they might be. And they don't know what they don't see. So she's saying, okay, you're not gonna invest in these people. I will take their money from you, and I will help these companies grow. And so if you guys have an idea and you are working on something, I would definitely apply to the accelerator. They're investing $100,000 into 4 or 6 companies in 4 different cities across the country. And the funny thing about it is ever since Backstage Capital started, they've had incredible impact and reach in terms of like the diversity. The purple is Backstage Capital, and that little pink sliver is the industry average. It's just to show you what the VC landscape is like. The industry average is 1% of founders of color get capital. Backstage has invested 80% of their fund into founders of color. And then, there's always copycats who see what you're doing and they want to jump on the bandwagon and are responding to the demand that you've created, which is we also now want to invest in founders of color and women and generally underrepresented overall. So my end conclusion, this is for the students, because I know like some of you are probably doing math in class or whatever. It's community plus demand times impact equals opportunity. And that's what you should be focusing on. If you're missing one of these things, you don't got it. You got to start all over. And that is my presentation.
You ask questions?
I think so. How much time do we have?
You got plenty of time.
All right.
So how would you respond to the superficial critique that you show like a really impactful slide that, from 1% of investments of color to 80% based on Backstage Capital?
Yeah.
How would you respond to the superficial critique that itself is pattern matching?
So Arlen says that she pattern matches for grit. And it's not specific to people of color, but it's something that a lot of people of color have because of the way that our systems have been built to disenfranchise them, that a lot of them do have grit. Black female founders, we on average raise about $35,000, but female founders on average return $78 cents for every dollar they get versus male founders, which is about 30 cents. So the answer is we make more money. But yeah, the pattern matching is different for everyone, but if your pattern matching is being exclusive and denying opportunities, it's not working.
What was it initially like when you had like the design, the concept, but actually like finding a manufacturer, finding package, like all the boring, unsexy stuff like you had to do to get the product out?
So it took 2 years. It took me 2 years. It's funny because that first doll on that slide that you guys that saw our beginning slide, I literally made that by hand. I didn't even have any intentions of it being a doll, but like I sculpted it by hand. It's literally made out of aluminum foil and Sculpey and paint. I went to RISD, your math is open, but that's what they teach us to do. And so the early designs of the doll that we got like the first doll was based off of a sculpt that I created, and so the way that I did it is by acknowledging what I don't know and finding the people through my network that have specific knowledge. So like you have to acknowledge that like I don't know everything. I didn't know how to bring a product to market, but I was like, okay, if someone works at Hasbro, they're more likely to know people who have gone through this process. Let me see if I can get intros to Hasbro people. And I've just collected mentors over the years. Like now I have Debbie Sterling from Goldie Blogs and Maxine from Build a Bear that like are in my network that I can reach out to if I have specific questions. So a lot of the times you're prototyping by hand, and then you're finding people along the way to help you bring it to actual physical product. It takes a long time. It's really time consuming and it's difficult. It takes a lot of money. So I did the Kickstarter, but when you ask the right questions, you figure out the holes in what you don't know. Like I had to not only ask about manufacturing, but very specifically like, what type of molds, how long do the molds last, how many production rounds can you do with it, what's the typical timeline, what are the holidays that are going to slow down production in overseas, in like working in a country that's overseas. Understanding shipping, understanding testing, like, do I have to have testing requirements? So doing a lot of Googling, Google has become my best friend, and talking to other people in the space, so connecting with other toy industry people and asking them questions about how they brought their product to market as well.
So you talked a lot about how connections and guidance and like the broader ecosystem is really important. What would you say to people who are just maybe shyer or afraid to reach out for that help? Like, what do you think is good advice for those people, and how would you encourage them to do that? Because it seems like it's been an important part of your journey.
Yeah, so it's weird because I don't know if I'm an extrovert, because
Yeah.
I really do feel like an introvert, because I'll go to events and I just don't have the energy, I don't have the capacity. And so it's a lot about, I have to mentally prepare myself to go to networking events. Like, I do research ahead of time, like, who's going to be there? All right, did you sleep? Are you hangry? Like, are you going to be in the right mindset? And so a lot of it is about putting yourself out there. And so the only feedback that I typically give is make sure you have the energy and the capacity. Because even though it's not something you want to do, you have to do. But you can do it. You don't have to dive in and like shake hands with everybody in the room and like talk to every person. It can be indirect. It can be through cold emails. It can be through LinkedIn connections, through engaging with people in social media contacts. I've had a lot of things happen because of DMing people on Instagram or DMing people on Twitter. So take it at your own pace. You don't necessarily have to push yourself into a room full of people and talk to everyone.
Talk a lot about kind of on a similar path. I was in Mass Challenge and different things. Yeah. So building your team or the manufacturing process, so kind of growing. How does that work for you? Are you a team of one pretty much, or do you subcontract things?
That's me.
Yeah.
No, I've had a lot of help along the way. When I first started, I had a small team that worked on the Kickstarter campaign, and then I had a team at Mass Challenge as well, and we all had our specific roles. But over the past 3 years, it's been much of a solo founder push and contract workers. So like I said, finding people who don't know things and hiring people to work on Shopify website, hiring independent 3D designers, hiring independent social media managers. Interns are a great resource. I've had interns from RISD through my network, and I'm able to help them learn about social media management and marketing strategies, in addition to them helping me with my own campaign. So that's my answer to that. But it really helps when you have like the brand and you have like your narrative out there, people often come to you looking to help you. I also have mentors who typically help me because they have a specific skill set, like financial advisors, and they know that I don't have a CFO, so they'll help me out with my projections and putting my financial forecasts together and stuff.
Yeah, I saw online that are you sold out or you're not?
Yeah, we are sold out. Yay. We're sold out, and we have over 800 people on our wait list.
Wow.
And I'm getting like emails from parents like, I just got a notification that I'm on the wait list, but I signed up 3 days ago. And I'm like, I don't know what they're gonna do when we sell out again, and they didn't get one. I'm a little scared. But yeah, that happened because I have had these programs help me learn how to do digital marketing, and also mentors helping me on the back end. Like literally, like business manager, I have like 9 people who have access to the campaigns and can like make edits and give me feedback on things. So just opening up myself to criticism and feedback has been really helpful.
I know this is like a specific question, but when you're cold emailing someone or like DMing them, what exactly do you say? Just because like I like to do that, but I always don't know exactly like how to phrase my like
Cold email. So
in a way that'll make them notice you, I guess.
I always utilize links, and I always send like a one-pager or a media kit to just give them an idea if they do open the email. But I always start with like, hey, I'm Yelitsa, I'm reaching out to you because I read this or something about this resonated to me, like the personal reason why I'm reaching out to them, and then my call to action at the end, and just keeping it short. So let's say that, like now, I'm reaching out to influencers, and I go, hey, my name is Yelitsa, I've been following your page for such and such amount of time, and I love your post with your daughter. We're doing a holiday campaign right now, and we're looking for influencers to partner with us. Would you have time for a call on these and these days? Here's a link to my calendar. I've attached the media kit in the email. That's it. And then track the email, and if you don't open it, send a follow-up in like a certain number of days, all that stuff. But yeah, just put a reason why you're reaching out to them and show them that you actually are interested in them as a person, and then put your call to action at the end. There's a hand in the shirt. Yeah, everyone's wearing a shirt.
Seems like in this long journey of yours, seems like you've met like wonderful people, and if you could pick one out of many, what would be your favorite piece of advice that really helped you?
No one knows what you're doing. Yeah, I get that a lot because I've met people who I've looked up to for like years. Not to say that they don't know what they're doing, but they tell me about their journey, and it's like a lot of people are learning, and so not idolizing people and being okay with asking for help as well has been really great feedback. Like, you have to be okay with letting people in as long as you trust them and make them sign an NDA sometimes. And being open to that feedback. So don't idolize people and be okay with not knowing things and ask for help.
How did you make time to do all of this while still a student at RISD?
I almost did not graduate. It was hard. I fell behind in my classes, and I spread myself really thin. I actually stepped down from one of my student leadership positions because it was just too much, and so I just pulled back. In my last semester, I just pulled back a lot and redistributed my energy and like slowed down on a lot of things. Now I have calendars, and if it's not on my calendar, it does not exist. Scott, did you have a question? No, wait, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Well, I was taking a picture of you, but yeah, what are the next steps in addition to producing $800?
Having a crazy holiday season, and then we're working on stuff for Black History Month, and we'll be working on activations in 2019. That is all I can tell you.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So this is kind of like a bad question, but do you need a patent for this, or like can another company like produce this in a sense, or like so how is there like the uniqueness that you have, like in a sense? Like I'm just like curious.
So how do I answer this quickly? There are things that you can protect about products. You can protect your design, and if it's particularly unique, you can like have a patent in general to protect it, but not all. You have to have specific requirements to meet that. We can protect our brand, like in terms of like our logo and the design of our doll from being copied. But the other thing that protects us is in general that our brand and connection with consumers. If your question is about how like a competitor could come in like Mattel or Barbie if they see this, the answer is consumers in general can sense authenticity. And these are companies that have ignored this group in particular. And so if they were to come out with something like this, it doesn't necessarily mean that it'll be picked up and have the same connection and resonance as our product has. The other thing about it is that our product does something specifically different than these companies, which is we go beyond just painting the doll brown. We create an experience around it. We're building a lifestyle brand. So girls are not only having a doll that looks like them, but they're actually learning technical skills from playing with the doll's hair, with specific hair that is not available to other companies, that they don't have the knowledge to access the way that we do. And then in addition to that, we also have our book, which is an instructional guide. So we've created a whole system, which is very much similar to what American Girl has done, but instead we're doing it for all girls, as it should have been.
What made you choose to like name the doll opposed to like does Zoe have a backstory or something you can read about?
They all have individual backstories. Zoe's the only doll I showed you, but there's actually 4 characters, all particularly influenced by people in my life that I hope don't sue me later for stealing little bits of them. How many other hands do we have? You over here.
I just want to know sort of what's been the like most fulfilling piece of affirmation from like a customer.
This one time, a customer sent a picture of her daughters holding the doll, like in between them, and they had like dressed the doll up just like them. And I had been answering terrible emails all day, and I was like, I'm going home now. I'm done. This is great. I'm gonna end on this high note. I know you had a question in the red sweater.
I was wondering, what are your thoughts on some of the missing components in the current educational system, particularly that of art and design institutions, and how could they do a better job in supporting young entrepreneurs?
So the thing about college, are you talking about specifically in regards to entrepreneurship?
Well, just kind of exploration of broader paths outside of the assigned art and design.
I think, so the thing about college is you're paying for access to information, and what you do with it is up to you. And so it's really up to the student how much they tap into things, because there's all these opportunities for you on your college, like from the teachers, like networking with them and connecting with them outside of classes and asking them for specific help and insight. Specifically about curriculum and structure that the colleges provide, I will say that one thing that me and my peers have talked about as artists and designers working in the world and as entrepreneurs is we don't get a lot of structure on learning how to be a freelancer or how to be an entrepreneur per se, in terms of like contracts, the more technical side of things. Like, we have learned how to creative problem solve. We have not learned how to write all the documents in the back end and like how to, figure out, like, I have to have help for all of those things. And so that's the one thing that I will say. But it's also up to the student to reach out and ask people if they have the skill set. But it would be great to see a class specifically about that. Is there anything? Okay.
What are the challenges been as a solo founder? Because everyone's always like, you should have a co-founder.
There is a lot of you should have a co-founder. I do feel spread thin a lot, but I also feel incredibly supported as long as I make sure that I'm using that support. So you'll get a lot of people who say, we only invest in founding teams and da-da-da-da-da, and that's fine because I'm going to do it with or without them anyways.
In terms of being an illustrator, at this point, how involved are you in the art side of your business?
I do most of the creative. I've had interns come in and do design work, but if you see, most of the visuals you do see on our social, I make myself. Yeah.
How do you think your product has positively affected the community thus far?
It's weird because I went to Summit 21, which is the Blavity event. Blavity is this digital media platform targeting Black millennials. And it was only for women. It was like a women's empowerment conference. And I'm just walking around and people are walking up to me. And they're like, I follow you on Instagram. And I'm like, I only have 1,600 followers. What are you talking about? And the fact that I'm in this space with peers and the audience that I've been targeting, and people are coming up to me and talking about how they've heard about Healthy Roots and how they've purchased things and how they've seen dolls. That's really impactful in and of itself. Is the reach that we've had and the fact that we're influencing people, and they're in the same empowerment spaces as me and can further reach other people. I know you had a question.
Yeah, not to get into specifics regarding your business model, but I know there's a lot of demand still out there for these products. So how do you intend to go out and reach out and do more?
What do you mean, my plan? Are you an investor? Right now we're doing e-commerce, which is direct to consumer, and we're going to be scaling doing that for now. And I would love to do retail in the future. My 5-year plan, 10-year plan, have stores. I wanna create experiences for kids, physical spaces for them to come in. A vision that I had was a hair salon where girls can get their hair done and their dog gets their hair done at the same time. Right? See, thank you. Send me that video clip so I can show them. But yeah, we're growing through e-commerce right now. I want to produce all 4 of our dolls, which come in different skin tones, facial features, and hair textures, and have those out. And I would love to do retail partnerships with brands as well. You have another question?
With the discussions with investors initially, were you protective of the company, or how do you?
What do you mean?
Were they trying to take a large percentage of the company?
I had one instance where I connected with a young professional in Cincinnati, and he wanted to take over. He worked at P&G, and I will not say his name. He wanted to take over the complete side of our operations and logistics in exchange for being a co-founder and providing $15,000. And then he gave me terrible advice. He was like, you should change the way you spell Healthy Roots to highlight H-E-R, like her. And I was like, this is awful. And then he was like, I expect a response to my offer by the end of the day tomorrow. And then I didn't email him by 5 p.m. He was like, I rescind my offer. And I was like, that's okay. I wasn't interested. I didn't say that, but I was like, okay, completely understand. And now a whole year later, I've gotten way more than $15,000. So there are a lot of people early on who make ridiculous offers, and you just have to decide for yourself whether or not you can actually work with that person. And I often decide not to. No? Okay. Follow us on Instagram.